New news, new news. I have been wanting to say that ever since watching the episode of New Heights with Taylor Swift on it, and that'll probably be the first and last time you hear me say it because I'm sure it's trademarked by Travis and Jason and them, but I enjoyed it. It was worth it. And I do have new news, which is I have a new hairstyle. Heyo. I got my hair braided. These are my vacation braids. I am going on vacation next week. I haven't had my hair braided in well over a decade. Okay. So this is actually new news. It is exciting for me, even if it's not exciting for any of you, because I haven't had my hair braided in so long. And I'll be honest with you, I might regret it. I just feel like my head shape, I don't know if it's cut out for this. I feel like it is highlighting how small my head is. And I didn't realize I had a small head until the woman braiding my hair told me that multiple times. She kept commenting on my small head. And at first I was like, oh, is that a good thing? Does that mean I'm a skinny bitch? It didn't sound like a good thing though when she said it. It sounded like, your head is too small for these braids, which is not even a thing. I realized a head could be. Anyway, neither here nor there because I've got the braids and I'm going on vacation. And so the braids are going to at least last for the next 2 weeks. Also, another update, I am in LA for work. I'm on the West Coast. So here it's like 7 o'clock, almost 7 o'clock. But at home it's 10 o'clock. And I've been up since 5 o'clock my time. So let's get into the episode. Hello and welcome to Two Queens, Two Crowns. I am your host, KJ Miller, and this is a bonus episode. But fun fact, it's a bonus episode that I am going to make available to everybody because I've got some announcements that I'm putting at the end that I think everyone will be interested in. So I'm going to make this bonus episode available to everyone, which I don't think I've done yet in 2025. Maybe only one other time. We have kept our bonus episodes under lock and key. So happy birthday to you all. Happy Taylor Swift month to you all. This will be my bonus gift to all of you. As I mentioned at the top, I am tired. I am tired. I've been up since 5 a.m. East Coast time. I flew all day, then went and worked all day at our LA headquarters. And I truly am tired, but there are also a lot of things I want to talk to y'all about. We're going to obviously talk about Taylor, obviously talk about the album, obviously talk about the podcast. But I also want to talk about Cardi B. She has a new single. I also want to talk about the Swiftologist. I've never spoken about the Swiftologist before on this podcast, but he's been coming up more and more for me. I have some thoughts there. I want to talk about Amanda Seales. I want to talk about Beyoncé, one of the greatest producers of all time. And that's according to, I believe, Billboard. And I want to talk about Tyla a little bit. Lots to talk about, and who knows what may come to mind while I'm in the midst of all this. Okay, so we're going to talk about it, but we're going to be quick about it, or as quick as I can be. So let's get into it. All right, first of all, I have decided to adopt a more laid back pose. For those of you watching this on YouTube, you can see I'm a little more sat back because, like I said, I need to get comfortable. Obviously, let's start with Taylor Swift. We all saw the podcast. I have actually now watched it more than once, not 3 full times, but I kept sort of starting it over because the first time I watched, I was, with my family, so I couldn't give it my full attention. So I watched it again. And then that time I was doing work. It was kind of in the background. The point is I have now started and stopped it at least 4 or 5 times. So certain parts I've heard 5 times, certain parts I still haven't heard. Who knows? But most, I would say I've heard 95% of it at this point. I just was not lucky enough to be in a position where I could sit and listen to the full 2 hours start to stop at any point. That's just not how my life works. There's nothing I can do for 2 uninterrupted hours. Quite literally not one singular thing. But I gave it a lot of attention. And I really enjoyed it. I think that was the general consensus. I think we as Swifties enjoyed it. I've seen a lot of people who are not Swifties say they tuned in and they enjoyed it. I saw there was a post of men who were listening just because they were fans of the podcast, not because they were fans of Taylor, but men commenting and basically saying you know what? I fucks with Taylor. I fucks with her. I'm realizing I'm very off center. Hold on. Let me adjust. They're like, you know what? I'm not a Swiftie, but I liked this. I liked what she had to say. I like her. I like the two of them together. This was cool. It was heartwarming. They just sort of, it was funny because some of the comments were very like, you could tell they were kind of reluctant. Like, I didn't want to be on this Swifty train, but here I am. Which, honestly, I saw someone post those comments, and then underneath, as the song playing underneath, they had Taylor Swift Mastermind. And I have to believe that was at least part of her aim. Part of her aim was, I'm going to go on this male sports centered podcast and be so goddamn charming that even the haters are going to come around. I have to believe she had that in her mind, and she is a mastermind. Shout out to her, because I think it would be very hard to walk away from that interview and not feel some kind of happy. I mean, she spent like 20 minutes talking about making sourdough. Okay. I don't know how you could walk away from that feeling like you hate Taylor, even if you didn't walk away with all the warm, bubbly feelings. And I walked away with a lot of warm, bubbly feelings. I don't want to rehash too much of what I've already shared on like TikTok and other social spaces, but I will say I've seen people say this interview humanized Taylor. To me, she's never not been human, but I do feel like did it make her more relatable? Honestly, I don't even know that I would say that. And I've seen people say that too, like, oh, this was her like bid to make herself more relatable. She's still a billionaire. She's still the biggest pop star in the world. She's still dating one of the most successful football players of all time. Like, I cannot relate to most of what Miss Swift does and who she is. It's not so much that it made her feel more relatable to me. It's more that I learned more about her, and learning about someone you admire and respect is nice. It's nice to learn about someone you admire and respect. It was nice hearing about the time she spent with her dad, even though the circumstances obviously were not great. She was talking about being with her dad in the hospital. um, it was nice hearing about that time, like it was nice hearing the behind the scenes, how she felt about buying her master's back. Because I'll be honest, I'm not someone who's been in the fandom since the beginning. So I don't have the same visceral connection to her original albums as other Swifties did, nor do I have the same visceral connection to her journey of re recording her albums as other Swifties did. I got excited about it because when I joined the fandom, we still had 2 albums left. And I pretty quickly after joining the fandom became a fan of Reputation. And so one of the albums we had left was Reputation TV. I've spoken about this. And so I got excited about that because I was like, ooh, like a newer version with more tracks of Reputation. I was excited about that. And then she announced it's not coming. And that, took a little bit of wind out of my sail. Was that the phrase? Just a little bit, right? Because it sort of felt like, oh, this was a thing I thought we were all doing. No, it was not us. It was you. And I've already spoken about that. I won't rehash it, but I will say, hearing a little bit more about the behind the scenes, just truly how dramatic and traumatic all of this was for her. It was nice to get that added context. I don't know that it fundamentally shifts anything for me, my relation to her music and her earlier albums, but it was nice to hear that perspective from her, understand it more from her perspective. Again, learning about someone you admire and respect is nice. And I think she shared a lot, and she doesn't owe anybody that. She doesn't have to do it, but I did appreciate it. I also appreciated what we learned about the forthcoming album, namely that it is going to be tighter, more curated, and I think just like a completely different experience than Tortured Poets Department. I am very excited about that. I'm always excited when an artist I admire does something new, takes some risk. I hope risks were taken. It doesn't sound like a big risk was taken with the producers, right? She's worked with Max Martin and Shellback. They've produced some of her biggest hits. I would not call working with them again a risk, but I do hope, because what she described was them coming together now essentially as 3 equals is very different from how they worked together, almost a decade ago, when Max Martin really was the mentor. Now they've all had way more experiences with songwriting and just living life, and so they're approaching it really as equals. And so the experience in the room and the songwriting and production process was very different. And so I hope because of all of that, they were able to take some really just scrumptious risks musically. That's what I'm looking forward to. I want to hear that risk. I want to hear, and I hope it pays off. But even if it doesn't, sometimes it is just kind of nice to hear an artist you like take a risk, which we will circle back to when we talk about Cardi B. So I am very, very excited for the album. I'm excited for a tight 12 tracks. Listen to that alliteration. I do enjoy alliteration. A tight 12 tracks. I'm excited for that. And I am excited because it does sound a little bit like Reputation 2.0, and Reputation is what I was clowning for. I don't think I've really clowned for just about anything else in these 2 years I've been a fan. I really only clowned for Reputation TV. And so it sounds like this is in some ways going to be like a little bit of a Reputation, but for now. And I'm excited for that. So very much looking forward to the album. Very much enjoyed the podcast. If you want to hear my other takes on it, head right on over to TikTok at @IM_KJ Miller, because I had multiple takes about that podcast over there. But I would say that's where I am right now. I'm excited. I will also say, before I close out this conversation, my most recent take on TikTok was about how I'm good and about over these countdowns on Taylor's site, these countdowns to all her many, many variants and whatever other merch she's going to release between now and October 3rd when the album drops. For me, these countdowns are nothing burgers. And to be honest, I wouldn't even know about them if people didn't post every single countdown on TikTok. I'm not just going to TaylorSwift.com like that. I don't have it bookmarked. I'm not just waking up and saying, what's happening on TaylorSwift.com today? I'm not doing that. I'm finding out about the countdowns because I am on TikTok every day, multiple times a day. And there are people like, ooh, a countdown, like, ooh, what's it going to be? And people get my hopes up. Ooh, is it going to be the Eras Tour documentary? Is this counting down to a lead single? And it's not. It's another variant. And shout out to all of you who want all those variants and who are excited about all those variants. I'm not a variant gal. I've never purchased a variant. Never, not one single time. I don't own a record player, so I'm certainly not purchasing vinyls. Like, I'm the girl who's going to stream it and stream it and stream it and stream it, assuming I love it. I'm not doing this, that, and the third. So for me, a countdown every day to another variant. To be clear, we're calling it a variant, but there's no variation other than the photo. If I'm understanding correctly, Taylor made it clear. No new tracks. Everybody's getting the same 12 tracks. So it's a variant with no variation. I cannot get worked up about that. And I personally don't think that warrants a countdown. But I have seen the takes. She's giving people the countdown because she wants people to have enough time to get their coins, get ready, get together, so it doesn't sell out without them realizing. I guess a lot of things sold out in the Midnights era, maybe the Lover era, and the people don't want to be caught off guard. Okay, cool. You like it, I love it for you. I love it for you. I don't love it for me, and I would just like to be left out of the narrative of these countdowns. Leave me out of it, okay? Unless it's a countdown to something exciting, like a song, like a documentary, like a music video. Those things are exciting to me. Anyway, just reiterating that here because I've seen some people in my comment section, a little consternation. That's going to happen. It's not hate. I just want to be clear. I can be Taylor's fan and also not love every single thing she does. That's possible. And I don't even dislike it all that much. It's just, I just feel like give me a countdown because we're counting down to something big. Please. That's that. Moving on. This is a good time to bring up the Swiftologist. Let me say this about the Swiftologist. First of all, we don't know each other. No reason why we would. But I don't know him. I've never interacted with him. I have watched a fair number of his videos at this point. I've watched a few on YouTube. Actually, fun fact about me, I go to sleep listening to podcasts. And lately I've kind of run out of podcast episodes for the shows I like. So I've been putting a YouTube queue together each night to kind of talk me to sleep. And he has a lot of videos. Most of them are long. And he talks at this fast little clip that sometimes will keep me up, but sometimes will put me right to sleep. And so as a result, I have heard more of his videos. Once I realized that about him, I was like, yeah, you can get added to the queue. Anyway, as a result, I have listened to more of his content recently. And I saw today that Ed Sheeran HQ posted an image of someone. They were holding a sign and it said, you know, top 3 pricks, something like that. And it listed him along with 2 other people. And that was on Ed Sheeran HQ. So, like, Ed Sheeran's official fan account calling out the Swiftologist as a prick, which I did think was like, I don't know, weird. I thought that was weird. I get it. The Swiftologist has some, if you're not familiar with him, I feel like probably a lot of our listeners are. If you're not, he is a YouTuber. His name is Zach. I don't currently recall his last name, but he goes by the Swiftologist on YouTube, on TikTok. And he is, very much a Taylor Swift fan, but he's also a music critic and a journalist. And so most of his takes are critiques. He is a music critic. And so he has written a lot of critical things, or I say written. He has made videos, a lot of critical videos about a lot of artists, including Taylor, to be clear. He critiques her as well. Recently, he has made a number about Ed Sheeran. Basically, the gist of it is, if you don't want to go watch however many hours he's now made, that Ed Sheeran has become very lazy. After his first album, which was, quite good and quite successful, he's just become someone who cares about numbers only, about charts only, and not about art. He hasn't pushed himself in his art. He hasn't innovated, and it's boring, and it's bubblegum pop that anybody could do, and he should be doing more because he can do more, but he's not, to summarize. And he has given similar takes on a number of people. I watched his take on Camila Cabello. I've watched his takes on who else? Chapel Roan, a few others. Generally critical. He is a critic, and when he's got this way of speaking. He has to be scripted. His videos have to be scripted. I don't know anyone who can speak that quickly in such complete, not just thoughts, but like complete paragraphs off the dome. If it's off the dome, shout out to him. Like if he's just got, some bullet points and he's forming these huge long paragraphs, shout out to him. To me, I'm like, oh, this must be scripted. And that doesn't take anything away from it. But anyway, assuming it is scripted, he scripts it quite, you might say harshly. One might say harshly. But have I found there to be a good amount of truth in a lot of his harsh critiques? I have. Again, I've watched at this point maybe 10 videos. I think he has dozens, if not hundreds of videos. So I'm only scratching the surface. This is not me giving any sort of full-throated defense of that man. I don't know anything about that man, okay? But the reason I'm bringing it up is because the conversation that is being had right now on TikTok about this man, and I've seen multiple creators sort of talk about him, is there room for critique? Because it does sort of feel like everyone hates him. He's a prick. He's terrible. He's so rude. But he's a critic and he's doing what critics do, which is kind of digging into the music and saying, here's why this doesn't land. Now, he does also give positive critiques, positive feedback. But I will say of the videos I've watched, has it been more negative than positive? Yes. But I kind of understand that. And I don't feel like what I've seen has made me think it is entirely unfair. Do I think there are some takes that are unfair? Sure. But this conversation of critique, even beyond the Swiftologist, is interesting to me because I am not a music critic by trade, but I do like to listen with a critical ear to pop music because I like to think about it not just in terms of, oh, is this a song I want to dance to? I like to think about, oh, what are the influences behind this song? What is this artist trying to say? How has this artist grown from the last time we heard something from them? Does this song or this body of work showcase that growth? Is there something they're wanting me to walk away from this song with? Like I like thinking about the things behind the song itself. And sometimes when I say things that are a little harsher or, a bit of a critique, um yeah, there's consternation in the comments, and it's sort of like, yeah, but what do you want people to do? Do you want people to just listen and say nothing, or do you want people to say, for instance, the critique that I offered with Tortured Poets Department? I love that Taylor gave us so much music and so much to react to, but it does sound a little unedited. And I like a fully edited album. I like an artist handing over to me, hey, this is the cream of the crop. I put a ton of thought into getting it down to these tracks to tell this story. I like that. Some of that for me was missing on Tortured Poets Department. Does that mean I'm a terrible Taylor Swift fan? Or does it mean like I'm actually engaging with her art in a real way, in a way that I would hope artists want their fans to do, to really engage? And so, yeah, it was just, I think the Swiftologist is kind of an extreme case, right? Because his critiques are quite harsh. And I think also he talks really fast, and he's saying so much that, like, it's not just that it's harsh. I feel like it is harsh and a lot, right? And I think some people just really dislike that. But I don't know. I think there is still room for critique. I think a fair amount of what I have heard him say, even the stuff I disagree with, I can see as like a fair take. Um, and I am going to continue putting him in my queue up until I hear something from him that makes me go, now you've taken it too far. And I believe that might be out there. To be clear, again, I've only scratched the surface of his content. So if you're watching this and you think, KJ, girl, wait till I show you this, you'll never listen to that man again, drop it in the comments and I will give it a look. Like, I want to know. I'm not trying to be a fan of someone hugely problematic, but I think even if we remove him from the conversation, there is value in critique. There is value in being a fan who isn't someone who's just like, yes, 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 I love it all, no matter what it is. I'm never going to be that fan. I'm as close to that fan as I possibly could be with Beyonce, given our 25-year history. But even Beyonce, I have critique for. Okay, I think I Am Sasha Fierce was not a good album, and I think she phoned it in for the entire second half. Like, and I love Beyonce, and that's the closest I'm gonna become to someone who's just like all in no matter what. And I still have critique for her. I also have critique for some of the merch she's launched. Not merch, but her lines, like the perfume line. Did we need that? I don't think so. Did we need Sacred and Sir Davis to all come out so close together so that you could have both of them in time for the Cowboy Carter tour? I don't think so. I do think both are very, very good products, though. I actually, no shade to Beyonce for Sacred and Sir Davis. I think both are very good products. I just don't know that we needed them back to back like that. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is, I think there's room for critique. And I think we are better fans when we make room for critique. But since I brought up Beyonce, let's go ahead and keep talking about her, because she was named number 6 on Billboard's list of the top producers of the 21st century on the Hot 100 list. All right. She was named number 6. This is based on how many songs that she is credited as a producer for that made it to the Hot 100. So let me scroll to her. And by the way, let me talk about some of the producers that she's ahead of here, okay? Just so we're on the same page. At number 24 is Will I Am. Y'all remember how many songs Will I Am produced in the 2000s? That like 04 to like 2010. Oh my God. That Will I Am was all over that. Okay. He's at 24. I'm only going to name people I recognize. Oh, it's a whole lot of people up in here. I do. I have never heard of. The Weeknd is at number 19. Didn't know he was a producer. Huh. The Smeezingtons, no, I've never heard of them, but this is a production and songwriting trio behind that includes Bruno Mars, Philip Lawrence, and Ari Levine. So basically, like his little crew or whatever. That's cool. That's cool. I didn't know that. Scott Storch is at number 16. Again, Beyonce is number 6. Okay. Not Mariah Carey at 15. Ooh, come on. Come through, Mariah. Kanye is at number 14. Taylor Swift is at number 13. We're getting up here. Danger. He's at number 12. I remember him. Okay, back to some people I don't recall. Timbaland. Timbaland is at number 10. God damn, now I understand why people mad at Beyonce. Jermaine Dupri is at number 9. Wow, I had not looked at this list. Benny Blanco is at number 8. I only recently learned who he was when he became engaged to Selena Gomez. Jack Antonoff is number 7. And here go my girl B at Beyonce. And they are mad. Let's read what Billboard has to say. Before Beyonce became a solo juggernaut, she was already helping shape the Destiny's Child sound away from the mic. She earned her first Hot 100 number 1 as a producer with the group's Independent Woman Part 1 in 2000, followed by Bootylicious in 2001. When she went solo, she continued to maintain control over the texture of her music, co-producing 6 more of her number 1s: Crazy in Love, Baby Boy, Check on It, Irreplaceable, Break My Soul, and Texas Hold'em. Her work behind the board proves that she's not just the face of her music, but also a creative force behind the whole enterprise. Wow. Oh. And the haters are mad. And I'm going to tell you why the haters are mad. We know why they're mad. They're mad because they think Beyonce is not actually a producer. They think her name is just getting added to the production credits because like she's that big and that famous that she can do that. Mind you, she was credited as a producer as early as her early days with Destiny's Child, before she was the Beyonce we all think of. Now, why was that? Because she was actually motherfucking producing. All you have to do, and by the way, I watched a compilation video. If I can find it, I'll put it in the show notes, of other producers talking about working with Beyonce. It's basically like listening to the same clip 30 different times. Because what do they say? She's amazing. She is a mastermind. She knows exactly the sound she wants. She is relentless. She doesn't stop until she gets it. She knows exactly what needs to happen. She thinks about drums in a different way. This is also why if you go and listen to so many of these beats she sings over, this is a whole trend on TikTok. Bringing up beats, stripping it of Beyonce's vocals and just listening to the beat and listening to how motherfucking crazy it is. Only Beyonce could listen to a beat like Single Ladies, a beat like Run the World, a beat like Countdown. Listen to that and think, I know what I'm going to do with this. Your faves could never. So don't tell me she's not a producer, because she's producing the whole goddamn thing, not just the beat. Some of these producers only know how to produce a beat. No, Beyonce is producing the whole damn show. She's bringing in the right people into the room to make sure that it's the exact right sound. When it's missing a sound, she knows exactly what needs to happen, who else needs to come up and hop up in the booth or on the turntable or wherever else to get it to be the sound she wants, what sample needs to come in. When she brought in the Beach Boys and everybody else for Cowboy Carter and made Yaya such an amazing motherfucking song, there are probably 12 different samples on that song. Who else but Beyonce would think to themselves, oh yeah, you know what else it needs? Beach Boys. My God, on today. Don't ever in your life try and play Beyonce like she's not a producer. She's the producer's producer, okay? And that's all I'm going to say about that. And now let's pivot to talk about Cardi B. I don't know if you guys saw, Cardi B came out with a new song. It's called Imaginary Playerz. I'll play a little snippet of it for our listening audience. If you're watching on YouTube, you're going to have to go listen to it yourself. Okay, so there have been mixed reviews to that song. I'm going to tell you what I thought before I saw any of the reviews. I had kind of 2 major thoughts. The first was I enjoyed hearing Cardi a little bit more stripped back. This isn't a traditional flow from Cardi, and I enjoyed the experience. Like I was saying earlier, I like when an artist takes risks, even when it doesn't always land, which brings me to my second point. For me, it didn't quite land. It didn't land as a song that I thought I would like to hear more of this. And it certainly didn't land as a song that I thought I'm going to put on a playlist. But I enjoyed hearing her take that risk. And there were a few bars that I thought, okay, cool, 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 cool. But yeah, those are kind of my overarching thoughts. It was like I'm enjoying Cardi taking this risk. It's not really landing for me. It's not getting me excited. It's not making me think, oh, amazing song. It's not giving me that. But it is new and unexpected from her. And I enjoyed that risk. Now, I have gone and watched some of the critiques and on TikTok and other spaces. And I think the critique that I think is resonating with a lot of people is basically like, Cardi is not really a lyricist at heart. Um, she is more of a personality and with a lot of swagger. And so like a really swaggy song with Cardi on it just feels good. You know, Bodak Yellow feels good because it's like such a swag-tastic song and she has such amazing swagger. It lands, it eats. Lyricist is not quite where we would put Cardi typically. And I think there's truth in that. And I'm saying this as someone who loves Cardi, or just I love vibing to Cardi. I think she does have a good vibe, a good swag. I think that resonates with me. But I will say this has not made me feel like the album is necessarily going to be less good, because I will say for Invasion of Privacy, there was a similar song that she released for Invasion of Privacy. It was kind of a slower song where I was like, slow songs. I don't know if that's going to be her bread and butter, but I appreciate her for testing it out, for giving it a try. I don't think that's going to be her bread and butter, and I hope that is not the bread and butter or the majority of the album, because I don't know how that would go over. I'm hoping more of the album is like what we got on Outside, because I liked Outside. I thought that was a good single. Outside, cause love it outside, bitch. That's a Cardi song. So hopefully the album gives us more of that. But I do appreciate the risks she took, and I do understand the critiques. Like, yeah, I'm not really thinking about Cardi as a lyricist. I'm thinking about her as a rapper, a swag-tastic rapper. And I love that for her. That's that on that. Okay, so finally, we're going to end this episode with some Black news. What if I made that my thing instead of new news? Black news. This will be my attempt to bring all of you up to speed on some Black topics in the Black community that you may not be aware of, or maybe you are aware of and you just want to learn a bit more. And those two topics tonight for Black news will be Tyla and Amanda Seales. Let's start with Tyla, just to cap off this long musical discussion we've been having. In case you didn't know, she released an EP last week or the week before, and it didn't do numbers. It sold something like 3,700 copies in its first week. I haven't listened to it. Now, in my defense, I'm not a Tyla fan. I was never going to listen to it. But the discourse online has been that the reason it floppity flopped was because she disrespected Black Americans. And I'm not going to rehash the whole history with you. A quick Google can bring you up to speed. But effectively, the argument is this. First of all, she's South African. She's also mixed race. And in South Africa, a term they use for mixed race people, I have gathered, is colored. Now, when she started releasing her music over here, and when her label and everybody else was trying to make her more popular over here in America, fans said, people online said, colored is not a term we are okay with over here. Okay, so just be careful with all of that. And her team, kind of her response to it was, I would say tepid at best to that feedback. And there's one clip in particular where she went on the Breakfast Club and Charlemagne the God asked her, so, educate me on, what is colored? You're colored. What does that mean? Educate me on that. And instead of answering, she turns and looks at her team, whoever's there with her, maybe her manager, maybe her publicist. And then her team says on her behalf, can we not answer that? Can we move on? Right. And so, of course, Charlemagne's team, they keep all that. They keep it in the video. We all see it. And Charlemagne even says, oh, we're keeping that. And so it looks like, oh, she doesn't even want to talk about this, even though prior to that interview, it had already been said, like messaged to her via the American public, specifically the Black American public, like, girl, we need this addressed, like, because you're out here in interviews and everything else calling yourself colored, and that is not going to sit the same with us as it sits with you. So, like, for her to completely avoid the conversation, it didn't land well with a lot of people. Now, after that interview, subsequently she got a little bit dragged. And I think where things really went left, because she then gave an interview to, I want to say British Vogue, I could be wrong, but it was in print, where she did address it and basically said, like, I didn't say anything at that interview because there'd already been so much discourse online, and I didn't want to, like, make it worse. And, like, this is what I am in South Africa. I'm never trying to disrespect culture here in America. Like, she kind of tried to clean it up. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, I don't know, whatever your perspective is, a lot of her fans, particularly non-Black American fans, but like Black people from the diaspora, so Black people in Africa, Black people in the UK, Black people from all over except here, started hopping in comment sections basically saying, like, Black Americans, were being out of pocket and we don't matter, and who gives a fuck what you think, because she can do what she wants, and yada yada yada. Just there was a lot of this. And I recall at the time in some of those comment sections there was a lot of this. Bop, 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 bop. Okay. That did not help Tyla. Because I think Tyla's response, in the printed article, I think was fine. Was it grade A media training response? No, it was not. But it wasn't terrible. But, everyone got out their Twitter fingers and basically tried to start a little online war with Black Americans. And it does feel like this happens a lot. It does feel like the diaspora loves coming for Black Americans. If you're not Black, you probably have no idea this is happening, but it is happening. This is a conversation that comes up at least once a year. That, Black Americans need to stop thinking that we're at the center of everything. And just because we do something a certain way doesn't mean that's how it's done for Black people the world over, so on and so forth. And it just, I think, ends up creating this antagonism. And in this case, I think that happened. And is there a little bit of, I think, reticence among Black Americans as it relates to Tyla? I think there is. Now, is that the reason her album flopped? I don't know. I'm guessing it's in there. Could have been other things. I think because it is my opinion that a lot of this is due to her fans and not necessarily to her, I think Tyla will be able to emerge. Will she emerge in 2025 successfully? I don't know. But I think that chance still exists, because I do think a lot of more of this might be on her fan base. And just like the diaspora in general, some of these people I don't even think were fans of Tyla. Okay, I think they wanted to take their licks and get their hits out on Black Americans, and so they were like, "This is as good a time as any." I don't think all of that had to do with Tyla. So I think Tyla still has time and opportunity to rise from the ashes. Will it be now? I don't know, and that's okay. That's okay. But I can still see it happening for her. I don't think the story is done and over for her. Although it could be, and frankly, I don't care either way, because I said I'm not a fan of hers, but I know there are people who are. She's beautiful, she's young, she's got time on her side. Okay, moving on to our final topic, which is Amanda Seales. This is our last bit of Black news. I swear to God, I'm gonna make that a thing. Even if it's funny to nobody but me. Amanda Seales went on that terrible, trifling, no good, very bad Jubilee channel. If you haven't seen Jubilee on YouTube, it's where they invite 20 dumb dumbs to debate one sensical person. As far as I can tell, from the clips I've seen, it's usually one person with sense debating 20 absolute dumbasses, is how I would describe it. They would probably describe it differently. And in this recent episode, Amanda Seales is debating 20 Black conservatives. The title of the episode was One Black Radical versus 20 Black Conservatives. Okay, now let me start by saying I don't watch Jubilee. When the clips come up on my phone, I usually scroll because I was watching them for a time when it was new and I was like, what is this? And then after a while, I was like, oh, a bunch of dumbasses. No thanks. So I usually don't subscribe, but I saw this one and a couple of the clips, kind of rose to the top for me and I watched them. And I will say this, what it made me think was my conclusion on the Amanda Seales Issa Rae episode we did weeks ago. Was that in 2025? I don't even know when it was. It may have been season 2. My conclusion was Hollywood needs Amanda Seales and Issa Rae. We need both of them, and not just those two specific people, but both of that, like those archetypes, right? Issa Rae works within the system of Hollywood to get her projects made, so on and so forth. Amanda Seales has decided to come out and kind of be a voice on the outside, critiquing what's happening on the inside. And I think we need both. And I think Amanda's very good at that. And I think she was very much in her element in this debate from the clips that I saw. Okay, so let's watch a little clip from the debate just so you can get a sense of what I'm talking about here.
You said radical. I wanted just clarity on that. And then also with the reparations, you said it's not just money, it's other things. I just want to know, like, what do you see as like the grand picture of what would help?
The grand picture of what would help?
Of reparations, like what does that look like to you?
Oh, great. What reparations looks like to me is a combination of reparations and remunerations. And reparations are about repair for damages that have been caused based on harm. Remunerations is a monetary response to work that has not been paid for. So if you come and paint my house and I don't pay you, you can take me to court and get remunerations for the work that you have done. So we're actually owed both in this nation as Black people. And there are incredibly just clear-cut records that show the buying and selling and purchasing of slaves, the work that was done, also the intellectual property that was stolen from slaves, right? Because there was so much inventing that was happening. And there is also quite a bit of other reparations that are being discussed as it relates to property being stolen, as it relates to, again, redlining and the inability for Black people to get loans, etc.
Okay, so that's just a taste. I will say almost every clip I saw, part of the reason it was more watchable for me than some of the other clips I've seen from Jubilee is people were letting her speak. And I don't know if that was just on some like black on black, like, all right, sis, I'm gonna let you speak even though I disagree with you, or if it's just because like she's that good of a speaker. You kind of want to just keep hearing what she's saying because I do think she's a good speaker. And she's also good at getting her point out pretty quickly. I don't know, but I think because I got to hear substantial and finished thoughts in a way that I feel like I don't typically when I see clips from Jubilee, that also made it land differently for me. And I think this is something she's good at. I don't know that any good ultimately will come from that debate. That's part of the reason I don't like these clips. I don't know that it does a lot of good putting, again, 20 dumbasses in a room with one smart person being like, debate. I think it's clickbaity and rage baity, and I don't like it. But I think she landed some points. And again, it just circles me back to the point I made in that episode, which is I think we need both. I think we need people who are in the industry trying to, fight for Black shows, Black voices, Black movies. I think we need people who are outside of it fighting for Black voices, Black causes. I think we need both. And I appreciate Amanda Seales for that. Do I agree with everything she's ever said or done? No, I don't. Most of what she says about Barack Obama, I deeply dislike and disagree with, but I appreciate her. And that wraps up Black News. Okay, we have made it to the parking lot of this episode, and I'm here with my update. This is going to be a bit of a free-formed update because I'm still finalizing the details, but here's the gist. season 4, and maybe even before season 4, maybe starting a little bit now going into season 4, I will be rebranding this show. I'm sure many of you have noticed most of the episodes we do these days are queen things. And the show to me really has become queen things, more so than Two Queens, Two Crowns. When I started the show, it was with the premise of looking at two women who had been historically pitted against one another and making the case for why they were helping one another. And season 1, we did 10 of those episodes. Season 2, I think we did 8 or 9 of those episodes. Season 3, I think maybe we've eked out 4 of them. I'd have to go back and look at the exact numbers. It has gotten harder to do because I feel like the juicy ones that I was really excited about, I've done them. And while there are always women being pitted against each other in the media, not all of those women are women that I care to talk about. And sometimes it's pretty straightforward, like it's just more straightforward and doesn't require like an hour-long episode diving into it. And so I always envisioned the Queen Things episodes would allow me to have more freedom, and they have. But I think now I'm ready to grab onto that freedom fully. And so I am envisioning going forward, I will probably rebrand the name of the podcast into Queen Things. Most episodes will be a deep dive into that week's sort of like pop culture, but from the perspective of what's important to us as queens. And by that, I mean us as women, right? Because what matters to us matters. And so sometimes it will be Taylor and Beyoncé. Sometimes it will be politics. Sometimes it will be what's going on in book talk, TikTok, social media. Sometimes it'll be Real Housewives. The point is, it'll be what's interesting to me as a queen. Yes, I wear that crown as well, because I think I enjoy spaces that are intended for women to come together and talk about the things that matter to them. And I know not every single person who watches and listens to this podcast is a woman. I also know the majority of the audience is women. And I like spaces that are sort of that cater to that. Sometimes the things we talk about will be very serious. Sometimes the things we talk about will be very silly. And I like that. I like the freedom that comes with that. I'm sure you can hear in my voice, even when we have Queen Things episodes, there's just like a little more freedom. I do think there will still be some episodes here and there that come up where I want to deep dive into two women who are being chatted about or pitted against one another for whatever reason. When those times come and it's a duo of women I'm very excited to talk about, I will do it. But I don't want to be boxed in. I just don't. And I've really enjoyed the community we've grown, the discussions we've had online, on social clips. I think we're close to 4,000 followers now on TikTok. We're, still hovering at that 7,300 or so on YouTube. There's a lot of us, and we're enjoying these conversations. We're enjoying talking, and I want to continue them, and I want to continue them in a way that feels authentic to me. So that's the announcement. What will that mean for you? If you're listening right now, I don't think it'll mean much. I am contemplating shifting how I think about bonus episodes, and if I just want to pivot to focusing on one platform and one platform only. I haven't made a final decision on that, so I don't have an announcement on that. For now, the only thing you need to know is we are moving in the direction of Queen Things being the rebrand. It just means you're going to get more of what you've mostly been getting this season. I hope that's good news for you. But either way, I'd love to hear your feedback. You know where to find us on YouTube and on social, so let me know what you think. So that's it for this week, everyone. Thank you for joining in. If you like my new braids, let me know. If you want to find me on social media, I am _KJ Miller on TikTok, and I am KJ Miller on YouTube, and I will see you next week.